Hey there YouTube, welcome back. I believe this is part 5 of going through my Metal Mountain, and we're doing pretty well. We're probably about, we're well over halfway through, so there's not too much longer to go. Next box is a mixture of bits and bobs, of which a big chunk is actually my Millites Christie Saga army. Now I've cut these guys down from their blister packs and also from the starter box set down into sort of plastic baggies to save space. So we're going to start off with some of the core troops, which are basically 3 units of foot warriors and 2 units of crossbow. So here we have the crossbow troops. Now I'm not normally a very big fan of ranged combat in Saga, but I did quite like the fact that these guys had crossbows. And it's one of those things where, I suppose the Vikings, because their only sort of ranged weapon is, or their ranged ability is kind of like a levy. They seem like they're not worth taking because they're only like sort of 3 dice. But of course with the crossbows and the fact that they're normal warriors, you actually get a lot more of a bang for your buck with actual units of 8 and not levy. So we've got 2 units of crossbowmen. I believe you had to have some sort of requisite to be able to get a second unit of crossbowmen, and I do cover that requisite. And then we have 3 units of foot knights here. I believe, I can't remember if you get one in the starter set or not. I think you might get one in the starter set, so I've bought 2 separately. And I believe also you get 1 in the starter set, so I've brought 1 unit, the other unit of crossbowmen separately. Next up we have 8 horses and 8 Hearthguard. I believe those 2 will be 2 points. Yep, I believe that's the starter set. So you get 2 points to Hearthguard, a unit of foot knights, and a unit of crossbowmen in the starter set. And finally, for the sort of baggied stuff, here's all their associated spears and swords, and the warlord, who's actually 1 cast piece. Not a massive fan of that particular warlord, but he'll do. Next up we have the classic 1 sheet of shield transfers that I always buy for each of my Saga armies. I always buy just the 1 transfer sheet because they're very expensive. And then finally we've got some more mounted stuff. We have a box of Millites Christie Sergeant, which are basically just the same as the foot troops but mounted. So in here we have 8 horses and 8 mounted sergeants and all their shields and spears and stuff. And then this unit here, which is actually meant to be a box of special characters, the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Now I actually got these, I really do like these figures, but I didn't want to make them into these Templars of Solomon, so what I decided to do with them was to turn them into another 2 units of Hearthguard, because these guys have got quite a bit of personality. So that's basically what these guys are. Another 2 units of Hearthguard and another 8 horses. So that is the Millites Christie army. Next up, I'm going to go through the little bunch of Infinity stuff that I did say I did have, other than those 2 starter box sets. Now, most of this stuff was mainly brought to bring the 2 armies of the very first box set that I showed you, to bring those up to sort of like a playable amount of points. it was like the sort of recommended things that they said to you to get to sort of make your army up to a sort of a playable standard after the basic starter set. And they basically consisted of 2 box sets for each side. So for the Pan Oceania side, they recommended that you get a Jotun's mech, heavy mech, and some auxilia, which I can't remember what these guys are meant to be. I think they're hackers. I'm not 100% sure. Let's have a quick look. Oh, they're sort of like an all-purpose military unit that have like robots that are mobile armament platforms. So that's the Pan Oceania extra stuff. Put those over there. And then for the other side, which is the Nomads, the thing that they recommended was a Iguana, which is again sort of a heavy mech, but you also get the pilot who can eject from the suit, and he's got like a heavy MG or an HMG, and the Tunguska Interventors, which are basically, I believe, hackers, and they come with these weird like sort of Robo Panda things. Kind of cool, I suppose. Of course, the big thing with Infinity miniatures is they're really great miniatures, but they're very fiddly and difficult to put together because they're in multiple parts. And then finally, for Infinity stuff, I've basically got 4 single figures, of which 3 came with books. So we have this one here, Joan of Arc. I believe she came with, I think she came with the oh, I've forgotten his name now. I should know it because he's actually, I'm actually related to him. I'll remember his name eventually. I'm going to look it up because I feel embarrassed now. Hold on 2 seconds. Yeah, Angel Heraldez, his book, when he first released his first book, you got this miniature with it, and it's a great miniature. But as you can see, I mean, so I suppose this one's not too bad, it's just a couple of arms and a head. But yeah, it is a strange fact that he's actually a cousin of mine. Next up, this figure here, Drew's Shock Team. I believe this came with the second rulebook that I brought. Yeah, and this one here came with the initial N3 rulebook, and then when they released the second part of it, you got these 2 limited edition miniatures when you sort of pre-ordered the book. So that's those 2. And this miniature I'd actually just picked up on her own because I just thought it was a really cool miniature. It's actually a mercenary doctor, but I just think it's a really great model. And again, you can see not too, got a sticker ponytail and 2 arms on. I suppose that's not too bad. But that's those. That's the Infinity stuff out of the way. Okay, we're getting to the end of this box now. Here we have basically the only box set of Star Wars Legion stuff that I got after I got the initial starter set. Was basically just a box of Rebel Commandos. I suppose the thing that kind of put me off of continuing to collect these, even though I kind of would be interested in collecting more eventually, was the ridiculous price. I think this box was, I got it cheaper than normal. I believe I got it for like £18, but they sort of retail for like over £20 normally, and I think £20 for 2, 4, 6, 7 miniatures is pretty ridiculous. And you know, that's way too expensive for what's actually what you're actually getting. So I've kind of stuck Stoles Legion on hiatus because of the ridiculous prices to actually collect the actual armies. Okay, next up, this is quite an interesting little story. So here we have a whole bunch of little black boxes, and within these little black boxes are a whole bunch of giants in miniature. Now when they released their Duke of Marlborough figure quite a while ago now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they ran a competition where if you pre-ordered the figure, you get entered into a competition where you basically win the number 1 resin cast of the figure, and every one of the giants and miniature figures that were released at that time. And strangely enough, I actually won that competition. So I just, out of the blue, because for some reason the email telling me that I've won somehow went into my spam box. So one morning I suddenly got this big jiffy bag coming through the post with a little letter, a little sort of note thing saying congratulations from War Games Illustrated, and I kind of wondered what it was, and it wasn't until I sort of started delving into it that I actually worked out what it was. So I'm going to show you all the giants and miniatures figures that I've got. So I've got a John Wayne-esque Iwo Jima type Marine, who I decided not to put into my bolt action Marines because I think it's just something about him that looks a little odd. Here we go. I'll save him for last because he's the special guy. So we have another Leon Trotsky. This one is actually, you know that these giants in miniature always come with a little card showing you their number. This one was actually a lot lower than the one that I decided to use for my Russian army, so this one's like 136 of 500. So that's him. Had another one of those. Next up, now this particular one I did actually buy. It's Warrior Woman, who funnily enough looks a bit like that the tall knight from Game of Thrones, and I did get quite a low number on her, so number 39. And there's it's quite a cool figure, this one. Again, I wasn't particularly sure what I was going to do with her, but I was kind of thinking of sapping her into perhaps one of my Saga armies. But yeah, quite a cool figure. She wasn't, didn't win her, she was a separate purchase. Next up, we've got basically Sherlock Holmes and Watson, or as they're referred to as Dishevelled Detective and Dr. Hamish. Not particularly my cup of tea, to tell the truth, but like I say, I won them, so two sort of Victorian-y type miniatures there. That's those. Next up, here we have Lord Kitchener. He is actually number 2 of 500, which is a pretty amazing number there. So Lord Kitchener, again, not really much use to me, as I don't really have anything to do with sort of World War I really. Next up, we have this guy. This is Flash Harry. He's supposed to be Honourable East India Company. So quite a cool figure. And we've got number 146 of him. And then finally we have the Duke of Marlborough figure that I actually pre-ordered. So I got the a metal version, number 82 of 500 here. And of course the special thing about the prize was that you actually get the resin version of him, who is actually marked as number 1 of 500. And you can see, I mean, I suppose if you hold them both together, you can see that the resin one is, I mean, there's not too much difference, I suppose, but the resin one's definitely a lot crisper. But yeah, that's really cool. So I'm going to show you the cards again. So we've got the regular one, 82 of 500, and the special one, 1 500. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting story. And that is the end of this particular box, a little bit over 15 minutes. And like I say, we're not too far off of coming to the end, so what I might do is I might actually, I'm kind of filming most of these in one day, and I'll sort of keep them in the background as sort of like reserve videos, because I did say that because of the sort of delay of me getting hold of some more black powder stuff, I'm not really kind of actively painting anything in particular at the moment, so they'll do a sort of filler videos to keep your interest perked while I have a little bit of a hiatus from black powder. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back for the next one. I reckon maybe another couple of episodes and we may well be done. So until next time, catch you later.